I'm not gonna do a stream on ImAllexx. No. There's new information that's come out. In response to ImAllexx's video, Alice put out more text messages and information between them. There was a lot of after-the-fact messages between them, because for some reason those two idiots continued to talk to each other after they had a nasty breakup, right? Probably one of the things you shouldn't do is continue to talk to your ex after you have a bad breakup. But, so there were some things revealed in those text messages that weren't there before that probably should have been there. Like, I don't know, it's a bit... I think it's frustrating that Alice, her initial document just had a lot of accusations and conjecture rather than tangible evidence of stuff that happened. Like, she would just say, oh yeah, he grabbed me and dragged me across the room and would pull me and like throw me to the ground and all that. She would just say that, but then there was no proof of that actually happening or any acknowledgement of that happening. And then she puts out a text message of Alex pretty much admitting to it. And it's like, why wasn't this in your initial document? I don't know. But my initial stance on it was like, they're both just as bad as each other. They're both abusers. And that was kind of my take on it. The newer stuff that was revealed, has had me leaning in the direction of, oh yeah, well, I mean, obviously Alex is 10 times worse. That doesn't mean, though, that Alice isn't a bit of a piece of shit herself. She is not girlfriend, but she's a bit of a BP demon, okay? And I wouldn't want to be her partner. She is the bad kind of crazy. She's not the good, sexy kind of crazy that most guys are into. Like, oh, yeah, she's nuts, I like that. No. She's the kind of crazy where it's like, you figure that out 2 months into the relationship and by then it's too late. And also her attitude about the entire thing after the fact, it was just her soaking in the victim mentality and like, and just kind of soaking in the victim fame, I guess I should say. No, I said I wouldn't go for Alice. BP Demon is crazy. What else would you call it? No, I don't think that's the case at all, Clef. I don't think Alex has proven that they're both bad. I mean, Alice has definitely done some fucked up shit in the relationship. And there's no way for us to know if this is a pattern for her. Good point, you got me there. Like, there's no previous exes of Alice's that are gonna come out and be like, yeah, she was a total dickweed behind the scenes or anything like that, right? So we don't know if her actions are typical for her, like a pattern of behavior for her as well, or if it's just, as people have been saying, like a response to the abuse that she was facing. I don't know. I think it's... There's like a middle ground here. I don't agree with the notion that being able to see it with a bit of nuance is somehow taking away from the hurt that she, like the abuse that she went through. I heard people say, like Nick Diorio said, like, trying to point out that they both have done wrong only takes away from her story or some shit like that. And it's like, bro, come on. Really? I think it's perfectly reasonable to point out, hey, both of them were acting toxic. Alex, yes, definitely worse, but I don't think either of them are date material. I think both of them are, like, if Alex is an abuser, then Alice is at the very least a toxic person, like a toxic girlfriend. And she has plenty of shit that she herself needs to work on. Yeah, I hate this idea that she can't be criticized, or her behavior can't be scrutinized because she's a le victim. Sparkly, sparkly. I've always hated that idea that someone can't be criticized because they've been a victim of abuse. As if victims of abuse can't also have abusive qualities about them as well. My takeaway is that they're both toxic. Alex, definitely worse, but they're both BP demons at the end of the day, and I wouldn't want I don't think any rational person should look at either of them and be like, yeah, I want to date you. I think Alice, at the very least, has some shit that she needs to work on and not just blame her actions on I was abused. Because that's never a good excuse for anything. Even if your actions are reactionary, I'm sorry, like, that isn't good enough. Because not everyone who is abused, like horrifically abused, ends up acting that way. Most people don't start acting like a horrible person when they're mistreated or abused. It also doesn't explain why she was acting like a shitty person to other people, like online. And what gets me is that after they broke up, there were text messages of her, like, basically still messaging him and getting salty that he was talking to other girls after they had already broken up, and being like, well, you'll never find someone as hot as me. They're all sluts and skanks anyway, all these women that you're talking to. And then, after she puts out the document and makes these accusations, suddenly she's like, oh, I just wanted to save them from being her, like, his next victim. I was just trying to save them. I'm trying to save them from him. Like, I don't know. The text messages you were sending don't scream that to me. It sounds like you were very much bitter and possessive. It sounds like they were both manipulative of each other. And suddenly she was, like, trying to make herself out to be a hero. I don't buy that shit. I don't. Like, I can understand that she was abused. Alright? I get that. It doesn't justify anything that was done to her. But it also doesn't... But also, her being abused doesn't justify what she did to other people. Because the way I see it, if she did what she did to Alex to anyone else, isolated in a bubble, she would be seen as the abuser. That, in my book, is still abusive tendencies, even if you claim that it was, like, reactionary abuse or whatever. At the end of the day, it's just my opinion. To all the people freaking out for saying that I'm, like, victim blaming or whatever, I'm not victim blaming, okay? I think that people who have been in abusive relationships can still be pieces of shit and nightmare people to deal with. And I think it's kind of minimizing her impact to kind of say, well, she only did this stuff because she was abused. It's like, yeah, but then, like, it doesn't explain everything, in my opinion. And that isn't to say that she's some irredeemable person either. Like I said, I think that she just needs to work on shit and maybe get medicated because she's a BP demon. I'm sorry, if you got BPD and you're not medicated, you're not doing it right. I think you need a bit more than just, like, a therapist you go to every other week. I think you need to be drugged. And look, I don't hate people with BPD, okay? I have plenty of friends. I have a friend who has BPD. I have one friend, and she's going to therapy and is medicated, so she's one of the good ones. Okay, she still has her moments, but don't we all? At least she acknowledges that it's a problem and is actively trying to fix it. Oh, you do? You do? Okay, I have two friends who have BPD. God, BPD seems to be a lot more common than I thought. I'm gonna have to watch my tone. But I have BPD. Are you medicated? I do. BP, damn it. These BP demons are popping out of nowhere. I know, right?